Order, please stand for pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. John.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
Mark.
Here.
Stephanie. She zooming?
Nope, she's absent.
She's absent. Dale's here. We'll get to approval of the agenda.
Can we get the
Jim. Sean, how you doing?
Good to see you.
Well,
2020 or the 2018 and 2019 audit added to the agenda, please?
Okay, we'll put that after or before budget.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of the audit.
Motion by Scott to approve the agenda with the addition of the 2018 and 2019 audit. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'll look over the June 23rd meeting minutes.
Do we have to do we do the first one first, the special meeting one, I suppose, or you want to do them together?
You can do them separate or you can do them
Together.
together.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented. On both September, the special meeting and also on the regular commission proceedings.
Motion by Tranby to approve the May 23rd special meeting and regular meeting minutes as presented and dispense with the reading. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion?
We have to take for granted that Sam didn't have any boo-boos this time.
Look at me, huh?
Why do we have to do that?
Copy and pasting is getting better.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Well, it's been quite a long road. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Look over the bills.
So we got some for North Dakota Association of Counties, what's that all about?
Those are the 911 fees. Yeah. There is one, I'm sorry, there is one that I missed. It got paper clipped behind another one when I was going through. But it's for the state treasurer's office for $1,608.34. And this is for the state tax, domestic violence, and then the 911 siren expenses. If we could get that added.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers as presented with addition of the, for the treasurer's office, is that what it was?
Motion by Mark to approve the vouchers as presented with the addition of the state treasurer's domestic violence account for $1,608.34. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Scott. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? I got a question on John Deere Financial. It's general miscellaneous. It's underwater by $950. What account is that supposed to?
Miscellaneous in and out. That must be the wrong account. Because I think that should have been general courthouse.
That's just a mislabeled account.
John Deere Financial. How much is it for?
$950. It's no, the voucher was for $26.89. The account is $950 over. How do we get $950 over when we're only drawing $26 out of the account?
That's an in and out, so that it's not actually negative. It just doesn't have a budget because money goes in, money goes out. And this is for a V-belt. And I think it's under, do you know why that was miscellaneous in and out, Wayne? For the V-belt, is there a,
There was a V-belt for the courthouse lawnmower. How much was it?
2689.
So that come out of the general fund or general miscellaneous?
so that should have been out of a different miscellaneous, let's change that one, cause it shouldn't come out of miscellaneous in and out, it should come out of general courthouse. So that's. So I'll get that switched to come out of general courthouse.
Is there any other questions on the bills? If not, we'll proceed to vote. John? Aye. Scott?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Dale votes aye. Motion carries. Monthly office reports.
I guess right now I'll just give a little update of my office. I did hire a deputy and her first day is today. Chelsea McMillan is now working in my office. And so I would also ask if we could get a motion to add her name to the bank
Sign.
to sign checks, yes.
So moved.
Motion by John to add Chelsea McMillan to the signature on the auditor's office account. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mark. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any questions on the monthly office reports?
I'll make a motion to approve the monthly office reports.
Motion by Scott to approve the monthly office reports as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mark. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Tim Atkins at Ackerman Eskerbold.
Yes.
What have you for us
Should be
today?
Tim Aaron's.
Well, good afternoon. I guess thank you for allowing me to come before you guys and give you an update on a request that I made a couple weeks ago that came through the DOT. I do have a revised request I can hand out to you guys here. I got a couple extra items for you too, just I didn't make enough copies for everybody, so that's some additional stuff, but I'll walk you through some of that there. All right, a little background on, so Ackerman Esfold's the construction engineer on the chip seal project that you guys had going on here a little while ago. We provide a scope and fee to the DOT for their review and for Wayne's review. Goes through that process, gets approved. There's a contract that the county signs with the DOT for our services. And what occurred, obviously we estimate the contractor's efforts. They ended up going longer than their time expected, which ended up having us overrun our budget, or will overrun our budget. So the process there, with the DOT and their contracts is to submit a request for some additional fees. So we did that, and I think I don't know the discussion what occurred last couple of weeks ago, but that was declined. I'm here to share some more information with you guys and to run through this item. There are some other updates since 2 weeks ago too. We were still doing some testing on the oil for the chip seal. That came back as failing in one of the tests. We got like the split sample tested here and just found the results today. That still failed. So there'll be a deduct coming out of that is what it's looking like. But with that, we've got to do additional testing. Basically, we sample each tanker truck that comes out there, and we pull samples off of that. We only send in 2 of them, split samples, 1 from each half of the job. It gets tested. If it all passes, everything's good. If it fails, we start grabbing the other trucks that we've got samples sitting back in the office. So part of the new request is to do some additional testing, which, when we get a material testing sub to quote their work, they don't plan for failed tests necessarily. And in this case, it was, we're going to test 2 samples. When I say 2 samples, it's 2 trucks. There's actually 4 samples altogether. But anyway, so that failed. And so now we're to the point where, at this point, we had additional efforts for construction inspection just because of the way the contractor's operations went. And most of that can be graphically seen, I think on the 4th page in there's a bunch of charts there. And just, I think the main thing there to look at, we estimate something before the contractors even be able to provide us with a schedule at times, because these guys move so fast, they don't necessarily get us a schedule. So we assume something, for the chip seal operations, go out there for 3 days, get the work done, fog seal right behind it for 3 days. Some point later, come back, do the permanent pavement marking, take down the signs. And it's basic operations. You can see what we originally estimated. I kind of put our trips that we expected to drive out to the job sites, drive back to our office. There was some hotel in there that we weren't able to utilize just because of lack of availability. And then there was inspection days, which are counted basically by person. So originally we scope out 12 trips, 13 field inspection days, and then the schedule that's right below it shows you what actually happened. We end up making more trips. We end up spending more time in the field due to the contractor for various reasons. Subs that were being delayed, just not the productivity that they had. For instance, they normally have 2 tanker truck drivers to deliver oil. They only had 1 for most of the job. That slows down their production. It adds more days to their work. That's not normal for them. So there's the reason why we went over stuff. I mentioned the testing went over. You can see the contractor schedule on the very bottom. That's what they had submitted to us after we had our original scope and fee determined. And you can see how their original schedule was spread out on the one above it. So that's, there's reasons within here that get sent to the DOT. 2 weeks ago, the DOT was ready to approve their portion of it. And of course, you guys are the owners. You guys need to sign off approving additional items also, and you end up having to incur 20% of that cost. That's what the federal share on this particular project is. So that's just a couple other items, and you feel free to stop me anytime if you guys got any questions, and certainly answer your questions at the end here. What Dale has in front of him, a couple other pieces of paper. He has the total construction cost of the project, and the most recent estimate is that one-page item there. There's something on the back there too, but everything's been paid out to the contractor minus retainage that is automatically withheld. So there's 2% retainage that's held from them. It's about $14,000. We don't pay the remainder of their contract bond until the last estimate or the semifinal estimate. So there's a couple $100 left to pay them.
How does their oil sample failing affect the project?
There's a set procedure to deduct them a certain amount, and the way that is calculated, it's a percentage of the cost of the invoiced oil.
How does it affect the road or the quality of the work, though?
I mean, this test, it's called the demulsibility test. It has to do with the separation of the emulsion with the oil or the water that it's mixed with. I don't think there's a big, if it was something that was real critical, I think that you would see more of a rejection type deal versus the DOT has a parameter to deduct from them. And for instance, the stuff that failed, it's about an 8% deduct on the invoiced oil cost. So the contractor bid $3.07 per gallon of oil. We haven't got their invoices back, so we don't know what they're paying the supplier. But let's say it's $1, and the one truck failed that holds about 5,800 gallons. You're looking at about $400 deduct for that particular truck. If it was $1, if it cost $1, I don't know what their actual cost is. So to me, it looks like a minor item, similar to if you have aggregate that fails their gradation, and let's say it's 1% out on a certain sieve or certain area, there's a minor deduct for that. It doesn't mean the material is completely bad. It's not in the range that you want it. Right. So I don't think you're going to see any less of a material out there. And well, we need to keep testing, and depending on how bad it is, maybe there are some other issues there. So we don't know that exactly yet. So at this point, we know we've got to send in more samples to get tested. And if they keep failing, you just keep moving down the line, and you end up testing until you start getting positive samples. And the way they got it set up, say for instance, if there's 10 trucks in this first half and you choose sample 5 to get tested, that fails, you test sample 4 and 6. If 4 fails, you test 3. Whenever it gets positive, a good test, the rest of that back is considered good. And then the stuff that was failed, then you apply this deduct to it. So I was going to know, we pretty much know what the cost of the project is going to be, minus there's going to be some deducts coming off if the oil continues to fail. And maybe it's $10,000 at most, but you had a project of $761,000, that's what it was bid at. Right now we're at $732, almost $733. It's about a $28,000 underrun on the project. And that's primarily due to sometimes the rock stuff is slightly overestimated just to make sure there's quantity there. I think the oil came out to where it needed to be in the rate at which it needed to go on the road. So you're looking at, the original bid of the project, $761. You're gonna underrun $28,000 there. Of course, you guys, your portion will be 20% of that the DOT will bill you at the end here, along with 20% of the construction engineering costs. I think I explained all the oil stuff.
The additional request is for 10-502-51. That's more than it was last time
Right.
we were submitted.
Right, so our original contract budget was a total of $48,700 and some. You have the original contract, that's the other piece of item I gave you, Dale. So that was our original contract. Yes, the additional request right now is 10,500. It was just under 10,000. We did reduce our hours, just a couple hours off there because we didn't come do a formal final inspection after all traffic control signing stuff was done. Wayne went through the job there and took a look at it. And we inspected it as we left, so we did take a little bit off of there, but that testing, so each time we test another sample, it's about $175 per test, as quoted by our material testing folks, which is Terracon. So what I did was I added 10 more tests in there. 2 for the additional split samples that were tested yesterday, and we got those results back today. Now we need to send in those 4 other samples that have 2 samples each, or 4 truckloads that have 2 samples each. So there's additional 8 tests that we need to run in order to keep going down this process of determining where the bad oil is, or the stuff that's not meeting that one specific testing requirement. And so that's where the 750 came into that. We reduced our sum, and yeah, it's about $500 more than the last time I came back and requested. And I'll say at this point, we've used up the budget that was originally approved, or right at that point. We've got some project records to still do. We've got to deal with this material testing. We've got to do final records to meet all the DOT's requirements and the federal guideline requirements, and then turn all that in. And then, of course, the material testing. So that covers what we had intended to do. However, our budget has been used up having to do some additional work on the inspection end.
So the cost overruns were due to the contractor not performing up to the expectations that he set forth.
Somewhat, yes.
Okay, so will the contractor then be asking for more funds because he had to do more labor in order to complete this project?
No, our normal process, I mean, if a contractor is going to do a job and I've got to estimate what his effort's going to take. If I assume he's going to take a month, and I indicate that in our contract documents that, hey, this contractor's taking a month, I'm going to provide inspection for that 1 month. And the contractor comes back with a different schedule after the fact and says, no, it takes me 2 months, that's just the way we do it. I would say, well, I can't, what I provided you was not enough. So that's basically, some of that happened, and then yes, the contractor, they didn't stick to their schedule. They take more time out there. It requires us to, the contract requires us to be out there with the DOT to inspect that stuff. Mm-hmm. If I would just say, I don't have any funds, I can't go out there and can't inspect this stuff, that's not going to be acceptable on the DOT side of things.
Mm-hmm. So again, why does the responsibility for non-performance fall onto the county? It appears what happens here is that you are underestimated your capabilities or the contractors. It doesn't matter which one. The work that was supposed to be done required more time than you anticipated. Now, I've done a lot of contracts in my life, federal contracts, and there's always change orders in the contracts, and it is all subject to basically weather and things like that. It's not failure of one of the components, the labor components of the project. All projects run over. And there's change orders for that. So if we were to deny this, what is your course of action then? Is there a appeal process to this if we are to deny your request? Because really, we don't have the ability to determine whether or not this was done correctly within the time components. All we have was, here's what it's going to cost us. And we didn't tell you how much time it was going to take, you did. And so you underestimated or overestimated, but we had no say over that. So my question is, if we say no, what is your course of action then? And if your course of action is nothing, if there's no contract clause to cover this, then what you're asking for shouldn't even be an ask. Because if the contract doesn't cover this, you're not entitled to it. And if the contract covers it, you are entitled to it, and you would be showing us the regulations that here's why you have to pay it. So I look at it straightforward. Like I said, I've done this for 30 years on the federal side. And that's the way these contracts work. Either I'm entitled to it or I'm not. And I had a contracting officer one time years ago, we're arguing about just such a thing. We overran a contract, and I was making my case, and he threw me the contract. He said, "John, whose signature's at the bottom of that thing?" And I got it. I was the one that took the responsibility for it, and I was the one that had to take the lesser money because I made a mistake. And that's the way I see this. Maybe not your mistake, maybe the other contractor's mistake, but your mistake in taking their word for how long it was going to take the project to be completed.
Well, I think the other side of it is, you know, if I assume worst case scenario and I submit a budget that's $100,000,
Mm-hmm.
you guys are going to look at that, or someone's going to look at that and say, well, this is ridiculous. You don't need this. So, you know, we're not trying to go to that extreme. We want, based on experience, and I worked with these contractors two years ago, and they meet their schedule. So, and I didn't have the luxury of having their schedule at that time. And sometimes you just do that with not knowing when they're going to start. You get awarded a contract from a DOT. In this aspect, it was the county DOT combined. We need to submit a scope and fee to them what we expect this to be. They're going to look at it. They're going to approve it. It seems reasonable. Things change. You know, it's out of my control that they're going to take longer. Their schedule came in, and we looked at that, and we're like, okay, we're going to be good. I hit this right on, and I feel comfortable doing it. And then they start to run more time. So, I mean, yes, I think you're sitting there feeling like it's not the county's responsibility. It's certainly not my responsibility to.
Sure it is. Sure it is. Absolutely. And your
It's
scenario,
my responsibility.
Your scenario is wrong from the start. If you would overbid it, no, you wouldn't have probably got the project, but someone else would have. That's the whole process of a bid process. Low bid takes it. Low bid sticks with the work that they said they were going to do it for a set price. That is what guarantees and protects the public from cost overruns.
Yes, the way
and this engineering part of this, the very reason that you're here is because we were trying to make the engineer we had be more responsible in how he spent our money. We were sending a message that you can't just go willy-nilly and charge the county money without having a consequence, even though in the contracting for the engineering, there's a loophole there. We were trying to bypass that and make sure people were responsible. And guess what? The next engineer we get does the same thing. But there's always another engineering firm.
Right. So we did not put in a bid for the project.
That's the point.
It's after
don't
the
allow
fact,
us
so-
the engineers have got legislation through the state that won't allow us to take bids for the engineering. We have to take your word for it. And the only way we have a recourse is if you treated us wrong in a previous project, we don't hire you for the next project.
Yeah, there's no incentive for me to try and do that because I do want you guys to hire me for the next project. I'm not, you know, our costs and the way the DOT's contract is set up, there's
no incentive.
The DOT's contract.
How about reverse incentive? What you're doing right now is certainly going to reflect on your past performance with us.
Yes.
Okay.
I certainly know that. I don't like to come here and ask for more money, but at the same time, I'm not just going to sit back and say, well, the contractor's taking longer and I should eat the cost.
Okay, so then that brings me back to my original question.
Right.
What
so
is
the
your
contract,
recourse if we say no?
Okay, so the contract is with the county and us. The DOT may be a signature on that too. If we don't fulfill the obligations of completing the project to the standards and specs and signing off at it at the end of the job, the DOT doesn't have a complete project. They cannot sign off on the project and release the federal funds for the project. And you should probably consult the DOT. I may be stepping out of line, but there's potential that you don't get your 80% for the project and the DOT turns around and bills you guys back for the whole project.
Did you itemize every one of these tests individually with a cost to them? Or did you was the estimate a blanket estimate?
It's broke out into some different tasks.
Right, but I mean, did you itemize every one of them? Was there, how many for testing, for instance? Was there 15, was there 20? How do you know it ran over the amount of tests that you? We haven't
ran over the amount of tests at this point.
So you laid out, so there is a number for the number of tests.
They put in hours, but no, okay. So if the 2 tests pass that we tested, we're done testing. We're fine. Things failed.
Yeah. So then.
So now we go more tests, and then those fail. We go do more tests. And, you know, this is unusual for this oil
Yeah.
to fail this test.
You don't have to explain any more to me, I got it.
But, you know, the DOT's contract is that we need to be there to inspect it and make sure it's done to the DO so that they can release those federal funds. And that we can sign off everybody can sign off at the end that this was done to this.
Then it'll have to be, if, from my point of view, then if you don't show up, you'll be in violation of the contract, so we can't be leveraged here.
I mean, it could be.
You gave us a price, we accepted it now, and it should be completed.
And there's a scope in that contract that lays out the amount of effort that we're gonna put into this based on assumptions that, you know, we're good. When we started, the contractor went over. Like I said, you don't expect to have failing tests and then to put that much more effort. There wasn't a lot of testing that was needed on these types of projects.
Again, the contract will have a way to settle these grievances. If you can't get along with us, the contract must have a way to settle them. Take that avenue. That's my recommendation.
Well, if the contractor caused the delays, take it out of the contractor's portion, not out of the county's portion. They're the responsible for the additional costs, not the county.
Right. I think that's hard. It'll be hard to go after the contractor for that.
Well, because he met all the deadlines. He didn't run over on any of these deadlines. He met the deadlines. He met his obligations. You were just overestimating his obligations, underestimating, whichever way you look at it. Yeah. And so, if he didn't run over, he met his obligations. You're pretty much stuck, I would say, with he did what he was supposed to do. You just thought he was going to do it faster.
I thought he was going to do it normal, what he normally does, based on experience, based on, you know, you don't run into these problems all the time. The other times that I've had to, with DOT contracts that I've had to do this, a contractor doesn't meet their deadline, they run into the next year. I mean, a little bit different, but in that case, you can't hold the engineer to say, well, the contractor took 2 years to do this job instead of the one they were allowed, and now you guys have to put in more effort.
Did he miss a deadline somewhere that I didn't see?
He missed his schedule.
No, a deadline that's actually set up in the contract.
We've got to
we
go
can
off
charge
of
him
some
a
scope
penalty.
and fee. We cannot charge him.
Is there anything he did
delays.
that we can charge him a penalty?
We cannot. He's
Okay.
meeting
That's
his
all.
deadlines.
There we go.
But this is, I mean, I don't want to say this is a normal process. This is the process that I've been through on other projects where, you know, that part's out of my control. As soon as we know that this is happening, we try to notify you guys, which I did as quickly as I could, two plus weeks ago maybe now, where I sent the information to the DOT and said, hey, these guys are taking longer. They're going to go over. We still got some work to do. I still have some budget to go out there and finish our inspection so that we're just not.
Didn't you just
Not
say
doing
that?
our job.
Didn't you just tell us that he didn't break any? He was within the contract specs on everything. We can't charge him a late fee. We can't penalize him for anything.
So,
Wait a minute. No, wait a minute. Not so. Isn't that the case?
no, yeah, you're right. The contractor.
Okay. So then he was within his specs. You can't blame it on him. He did what he had to do.
The owner has committed with the DOT to do the inspection as needed, and we put an estimate out there, and it's laid out what we thought it was, and you know, we brought it up. I don't think we're gonna go anywhere with this conversation.
No, I mean you might, but not
I
me.
mean, if there's other questions from others, I mean, you know, I don't think that the engineer should be put onto him or them to, because, you know, we didn't miss an estimate. We estimated what the contractor's efforts were. He went beyond that. And we've got to have some recourse to add to the contract, and the DOT's contract allows that to happen. Now, if I would have went into that contract and said, we're providing enough inspection for the contractor to spend 3 days chip sealing and 7 days fog sealing, and that's exactly what they did, and I underestimated it, that's on me. Just because for me, I didn't put enough hours in there or whatever. But in this case, you know, we said this many days to do this and this. This was the schedule that we used. and now the contractor's taking longer because of their operations, that is not normal.
I'll say it one more time. Did the contractor break the contract at any point in this where we can charge him a fee? Okay, then you can't blame it on the contractor. He did exactly what was expected of him.
Sure.
Okay, that's it. So your argument that because of the contractor it costs you more money doesn't work. The contractor did what he was obligated to do. You overestimated what he was going to do, how quick he was going to do it. That's not his fault. That's not our fault. That's your fault.
Well, I don't agree with that.
I mean, the $10,000, if I'm looking at this right, is a 20% increase, correct?
Yes.
And if you would have bid that much more to start with, you probably wouldn't have got the bid for engineering.
Well, I wouldn't say that because we didn't bid against anybody else in terms of dollar values. We were selected based on qualifications, and then we submitted a scope and fee. Here's our cost, and then the DOT and Wayne would look at that and say that seems reasonable, and then the contract is executed.
Did you say that the DOT had approved this extra increase?
No, I won't say that. I think they were ready to approve it, but they need the county's approval also.
First.
Because the DOT is paying 80%, or they're in control of 80% of the federal funds, and the county's paying 20% of it. So really what I'm asking the county for is 20% of the $10,500 is what your guys' obligation would be.
What's your view on this, Wayne?
I'm just a peon. Well, I did call the DOT and I asked, is this normal practice? And it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. And other times it's approved. So,
But it's not mandatory.
I also talked to Paul from PLJ, and he said they had done it, I think, before, not for us, but sometimes when the weather, they can't work with the weather, say it rains part of the day or something, so you have to come back another day.
Yeah, but if the contractor's working, I guess
You
you'll
know,
probably be able to
well, I
work
mean,
it.
if it rains, so the contractor
Yeah.
can't work.
Yeah, that he doesn't make his obligation.
So what I'm seeing here is that, so we go, technically you're asking for 20% of the 10,000, is that?
Yes.
Am I getting that right? Is that right?
Yeah, the state picks up, the
State picks up, okay.
federal does.
But how do we, so, moving past what this is, how do we stop this process from happening again? Or there is no way of stopping, other than voting no?
The fact that the process happened this time is proof that you can't stop it from happening again.
Well,
That's
yes,
the
the
whole-
next time
it's built
I
into the
come in
system.
here and you say, we want to make sure that you have enough funds, you better double what you have and we'll approve it, I'll certainly do that.
That
And then I'm not going to use it all, and then everybody will be happy, right?
pretty big assumption, given what you're asking for, that you'll be coming in here again.
Right.
That's the point of this. We're trying to make this so that the people that work for the citizens of Griggs County are accountable for what they do. And the only way to make them accountable is to make them stand by what they told us, because that's what this amounts to. We expected this to be done, and the citizens that we represent expected it to be done for that amount of money. And then to come in here and say, well, I couldn't do it because I made a mistake, doesn't hold any water with me or the people I represent or anybody else. No one else in any other business gets to do that. If you bid something, you bid it.
Well, I will say I did not make a mistake. The stuff was put together based on some assumptions.
Well, very good. If you didn't make a mistake,
And if
then
the contractor would've-
the original cost should cover it.
And if the contractor would have held to their schedule, I wouldn't be here.
The total project is under the expected cost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so we took what you said from the interview about making sure we monitored the contractor and not overrun that, and I think we did. We
Well,
did
that's
what
just
was
what-
needed out there, and
That's just $25,000 that's left in the taxpayer's pocket. That's
Right.
exactly our job also.
Well, what are your wishes, Ben?
Well, I want to vote on it. I make the motion that we reject the request.
I'll second that.
Motion by John to deny the request for additional engineering. Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Barring none, proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Dale votes aye. Motion carries.
all right, thank you guys. I'm sure I'll be in touch with Wayne.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, there's testing that needs to be done that can't get done right now, so I'll have to figure out how the DOT can handle this. And I don't think they run into this too often, and maybe they haven't run into this. So
We'll see how the
Agreed.
process falls out with the state, I guess. And
sure. So everything will just, I think, we'll do as minimally amount as possible because obviously it's all coming out of my pocket, which I don't agree with. But thanks again for letting me be here, and like I said, I'll probably be in touch with Wayne and we'll work with you guys. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Can I ask you a question? So if this material didn't pass inspection, it's still on the roads? Is that right?
Yeah.
I can send Wayne
So they don't have to tear it up and put in approved material?
right now they'll get a deduct
Yeah.
on that material.
Well, but we still got shitty material on the road.
Well, I will
And then you're gonna
clarify,
use that
well,
money to- I'm a taxpayer,
Yeah,
that's what I'm
yeah.
just asking.
no, it passes some of the tests that run on it. It failed one test. I think the importance of that test needs to be known of what could be the long-term implications of that. And the DOT has stuff set up to deduct for that without removal. Some items, it's removal. If it fails the test, you remove it because we don't want that risk.
Yeah.
There's other stuff that they
It
deduct.
just sounded like you mentioned quite a few didn't pass, so I was curious.
Yeah, two tanker trucks out of 23 at this point.
Okay.
And then we're required to do more testing. See you later.
We're at Finley Farmers Elevator Tax Exemption, pages 20 and 23.
Is Jamie here? Is Jamie
No,
here?
he's not. He's in court in Granville. So the last paragraph there is the pertinent one.
Yep, I see that.
It appears his opinion is that we didn't have the authority to grant the tax exemption.
Correct. So Samantha searched back with the records that she had back to the start of her tenure, I think 8 years. Ron Dahl had put together a searchable database of the meeting minutes back to 2003. And I have that, and I searched it back to 2003, and I searched it for resolution, and of course I got a bunch of different resolutions that came up. I searched it for ordinance, and then I searched it for ballot measures, and I got all the ballot measures, but the particular one. So at least back to 2003, the public was never asked to give us meaning the county commission, any county commission, the authority to grant these exemptions. And without that expressed authority, then we didn't have the we didn't have the legal right to grant that exemption.
Since '03.
Yeah, it went back, I could search back to '03, after that, there's no searchable data, you know.
So when Central Plains asked for it, what happened then? That was like 2008, 2009. You know,
They didn't have the authority. I mean,
yeah, you follow what I'm saying, though, just like, you know, why they gave it, okay.
so if there is no authority back to 2003, then the exemption that was given by the previous commission to Central Plains wasn't valid.
Or do they pay it back?
I don't think they want you asking those questions.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
So, if we are to be given the authority, I don't think it's proper for the county commission to ask for that authority. There is the ability of petition within any democratic system where if somebody wants to give us that authority, they can circulate a petition, they can put it on the ballot, and it can go before the people to grant not just this county commission, any county commission, the authority to do that. Judging from our incompetence and how we handle this, I wouldn't grant us that authority. So, that's where it stands, and
My question is you guys are voting for this, are patrons of those companies, and you get,
We're probably patrons of all the businesses.
I understand, but you're also giving them these tax exempts, and then you get dividends from taxpayers exemption. I don't get anything. And you guys are voting, so you should actually, if you're in business, do business with them, you should recuse yourself from voting from that. Same with those other two.
I don't know if you could, there could be a person on this board that wouldn't have to
No, I
recuse.
understand that, and that's why it should go to the people.
Oh, I
Not
don't-
just the
yeah.
four guys.
Sure.
There's,
Sure, if they wish to. But how do you have a vote on popularity, is what I'm getting at. If you'd have the people vote on every of those tax exempt
well, we're
situations?
voting on giving, the county more money for the roads. You guys don't
Yeah.
give that right, we do.
Yeah.
Well, we should
Yeah.
decide, do we wanna give $38,000 to this company, and they were gonna build that business anyway. And you're throwing out $39,000 over 5 years for, you didn't bring this business in here and give them an incentive to come here.
Well,
You threw it at them because they're here.
they still don't have to build it here.
No,
you
but they
realize.
were going to.
I have a little bit of inside information. There was quite a discussion of putting it in Glenfield.
Right, I've heard that too,
You
in
know.
different location, I understand all that. But does Glenfield have $38,000 to give up?
Well,
No,
I don't
we
think
possibly
Glenfield
can.
has people to run it.
Well, that's the whole point here, I
Yeah.
believe what it should be up to the people, because that's kind of why I'm here, is I'm getting ahead of my minutes
Yeah.
here, but if you're gonna do this, well, I'm kind of hurting too, and I kind of want to get exempt.
But it wasn't 38,000, it was over 70,000 total. is what was
Yeah,
being-
yeah. And my thing, I've always been against property tax. My thing is I've been at my place for over 20 years. I'm on social security, fixed income now. If I
Sure.
cannot afford that, you guys will evict me to pay that tax debt. I'm out in the street
Sure.
and somebody with money will take it. That is against the American way. There's my, and, talk with the state up there, them guys in Bismarck. Well, Sanford, he made a comment one time on the radio, he says, well, we'll never get rid of that property tax because the people won't have skin in the game. Well, skin in the game, we're talking livelihoods.
The whole game.
I thought that was the most asinine comment that,
No, I agree. I mean, property tax has nothing to do with ability to pay.
But so,
I understand all that.
a little bit of insight, Tim, the reason that Dale and I are here was because of what the previous commissioners did in disobeying the will of the
Right.
people.
Exactly.
And we kind of had, the 5 of us previously, and that doesn't carry over, it doesn't have to carry over to everybody else, but we always said that if it was a major financial burden, or if it was possible to give the people the chance to vote on it, that's what we wanted to do.
Right.
We didn't want to make major financial decisions on their behalf because they're the ones that are paying it, they should be able
Exactly,
to
and
make
that's-
it. And that's the philosophy on everything that I do is, if the people want it, the people get it, but I shouldn't tell them they have to have that.
Exactly, and that's, I agree, so that's just.
And everybody got ahead of themselves on this, on granting this exemption and just said, well, yeah, we can do it. I don't know why, I don't know, I'm not gonna scold anybody, but it's 5 minutes to read that damn century code, guys.
Sure.
Yeah.
But why wasn't it brought up before? A long time ago.
Well, because I was vehemently against it,
No,
and
I
I'm
know.
not required
I'm
to build the
starting-
scaffolding to hang myself.
I'm just
I'll let you guys do that. So I
Just
sat
doing a
here,
point on this.
and I made a point. I sat here and let you guys do it. You know everything, and look what you did without knowing anything.
Yeah.
I proved my point, that we shouldn't have the authority to do it if you can't even take the time to research 5 minutes to see whether you could do it or not.
And,
Of course I knew you shouldn't do it, but you didn't look like you were helping me out. You voted 4-1 against me. And look where we got.
And the statement in the paper that I kind of thought was kind of goofy as well, we did it to 2 other ones before, well, we'll do it again. Well, I'm getting in line.
And it appears like the two previous ones, if this holds true, were done illegally also.
Yeah,
So do we,
I don't know what we do. We have to notify the
Yeah.
elevator that this is in question. We owe them that.
Yep.
so do we instruct Jamie to send him a letter?
Yeah, I mean, they have the right to research this. Maybe they can find where this happened. I don't know. But we owe them that because what happens if they proceed forward now on the assumption
Sure.
they're getting a,
Sure.
so someone needs to notify them.
I would suggest we instruct the state's attorney to draft a letter to Finley Farmers Elevator explaining the situation to them. And their options going forward if they want to petition the electorate of Griggs County to put this on the ballot.
Yeah, the state's attorney doesn't have any obligation to instruct. He just has to tell them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So is that our wishes to have state's attorney
I would
notify?
guess so. After reading the last paragraph, it sure looks pretty obvious that way.
you can scratch my name off, I spoke already, so.
Okay,
That's
thanks,
what I was
Tim.
here for. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks, Tim.
So do we need a motion to that?
I would assume that would be the way to go.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mark to have state's attorney contact Finley Farmers Elevator regarding the tax exemption. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Scott. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, Red Cross grant.
My name is Annie. I'm here to represent our emergency management department. I don't know if Jamie is on or not, but Nancy graciously helped with this grant. We came up with some items that we feel that the county would be good asset in case there is an emergency disaster, which are wool blankets, portable army cots, pillows, and then 27-gallon totes, with a total of $87.90. So there'd be 3 locations that these would be housed at: the school here in Cooperstown, Midcoda Elementary, and Hannaford Community Center. The only location that has not gotten back to me was Deb Dahl with the Hannaford Community Center. She didn't think it would be a problem, but she would have to run it through their board, and I have not heard back from her yet. but the other 2 locations did agree to house these items. With this grant, there's a 20% match, which equals out to be about $1,700.
The reason why there, can I speak?
Sure.
The reason why there's 3 locations is because if we all had it all here, when there was a storm and the electricity went off, we couldn't get that stuff to those towns. Derek Hansen with the Heartland, he thought that was a good idea.
Yes, he did not suggest putting it all in a trailer, because if there was a disaster in Binford and the trailer was located in Cooperstown or Hannaford, there would be a chance that you couldn't get that trailer to that other location.
How long does the grant period run on this?
I believe it was through September.
Yeah.
So we're asking the county for $1,700 for a cost share on this 879025.
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah, there's, if you guys want to do that, there should easily be money in the general fund, reserve fund. If you so desire, I mean, there's,
Can we use some of the 319 or 911 funds out of that for this?
we could also use some of the COVID, we could also use, or the
COVID funds? We don't have any wool blankets or anything like this set up anyplace else in the county?
I don't know.
My understanding was speaking with Nancy and speaking with Jamie and Jennifer, who I took her spot as, there is nothing out there currently.
Right now, we have like 5 cots and wool blankets in our emergency trailer. The only time we've ever used it was in Northwood Tornado. But that's sitting there and there's only 5.
We talked about this at our hazard mitigation
Yep.
meeting the other night, and sounded like a good idea to have it spread out in different towns. And the next time we have a meeting,
July
it's nice to
29th.
have
Yes.
more people there, because that reduces the amount of money that we have to pay that parking for.
There's 5 of us last time we had a lot to do.
When can they access these things? If, let's say, some family's house burnt, could they access these?
Yeah, so my understanding is that we would just have to bring either certain items to a certain location to get them, but there'd be access, whether it's in Binford or Hannaford or Cooperstown. Somebody would just have to be able to bring them to them.
Red Cross would show up.
Yeah.
The region Red Cross would show up and we'd have this stuff and they'd help them out. Mainly it'd be hotel rooms when you think about it, but yes.
When we get a lot of people in the ditches at night and they have nowhere to go, if the hotels are full, we actually end up going to Steele County. We take them there to the church because they do have all this stuff.
Okay.
So it would be kind of handy. They've got it all set up at their church. And we actually utilize that quite a bit.
But if we had it in town and at the school, we also can have it, place, they're always worried where we're gonna store it, but upstairs in the new part of the school, the blue gym, there's room for it.
Okay.
And I will be personally responsible to get it there.
How about the other facilities?
Binford has, I talked to Binford, they have a spot.
Okay.
And Hannaford,
Yep, she fought in one of the classrooms.
because I think it's 50 for Cooper.
Yep, 50 for Cooper, 20 for Mid-Coda, and 15 for Hannaford.
Yeah.
Where,
You need what, 1,700?
Yes.
I'd make the motion to authorize the 1,700 out of the general reserve fund.
Motion by John to authorize the grant match in the amount of $1,700 to come out of the county general reserve fund. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mark. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Dale votes aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
When we get Sam back, we'll look at the 2018, 2019
Where'd you?
budget. While we're waiting, let's look at this tax abatement. An application for abatement to refund of taxes.
I know I'm not on the agenda,
Yep.
but I did have a call yesterday from a concerned citizen up in Binford. And since they did the chip seal and the paint marking, they kind of marked across the lane when you're going into Binford, and it's causing some hazardous situations, I guess. So Tim did look back on the Google Earth, and it went straight. It stopped at like Lennis Edlund's driveway going into the tanks.
Mm-hmm.
But here it starts going across the
So
lane going into town.
Town.
So I said I would bring it up. I think we can just cover it with some tar.
Tar. Yeah.
People can't think evidently if they're gonna go in.
And think and drive at the same time.
Oh, that line says I should turn to the left.
I drive into Binford every day, I must, I must be running over that line.
You must not be looking where you're going.
At least it turned it down a road, didn't turn into a dead end.
This tax abatement looks like
This is.
township didn't approve it.
This in your township?
Yep. Yep. I'm not on the board.
Oh, you're not, okay.
I don't think you can get your taxes reduced just because the real estate agent says that it wouldn't sell for that much.
And you notice he doesn't say what real estate agent. It's, I have been out to the place.
Where's this at, Mark?
It's the old Botany Farm,
Oh, okay.
if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Cooperstown Township's resolution recommends that the commission that the application be denied. Signed by the township clerk.
Stone Township have an assessor?
Yep.
Okay, so if you look on page 25, the bottom of the page after the application asks that, and underneath that, by filing this application to consent to an inspection of above described property by an authorized assessment official for the purpose of making an appraisal of the property. So he's basically asking for the property to be appraised. And once it's appraised, then that does become the value of the property. You know, you run the risk of having it appraised higher than it is right now.
Yeah, yeah. So,
But that's a remedy to this,
Dave,
is to
that's how
have
they
them.
ended up here.
Okay, that's a remedy to it, is have it appraised,
Yeah,
or excuse me, assessed.
assessed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then that'll have to be the final word on that.
okay,
And if he's right,
sure,
it lessens the value.
you bet. So what do we do today?
Table it?
You send that back to the township?
We instruct the township that this,
Have it reassessed?
it needs to be assessed, yeah.
Okay.
So the action by the Board of Commissioners is to approve or regret or reject this. Are we rejecting it?
We'll have to reject it and send it.
Send it to the township for reappraisal?
An actual
Yeah.
assessment
Yeah,
by the
reassessment.
township assessor. Who does that?
It isn't Farah,
Is it Tasha?
Tasha.
Okay. That's what, yeah. Because that's a box you check. Residential or commercial properties, true and full value exceeds the market value. So the only way to determine that is by an assessment.
Somebody want to make a motion here?
I'll make a motion to send it back to the, have it appraised, correct? Send it back.
Assessed.
Assessed.
Motion to reject the application. Motion by Scott to reject the application and send it back to the township for assessment. Reassessment, I guess would be proper. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Am I signing this in two places?
There's two of them, so it would be that one and then this one. Thank you.
2018-2019 audit.
Okay, so I had contacts with the state and let them know that you guys had decided to have Harold file the audit on our behalf instead of doing theirs, and they were not very pleased. So they talked to the people above them And I got a phone call back today that said that they had talked to everybody and that they will be finishing this audit and we will be going forward with this. With that being said, I do have an email that I got about 20 minutes before your guys' meeting. If you would like to see it, it says the 2018 and 2019 was resumed by the Office of the State Auditor. We will be finishing the audit and hopefully very soon. It goes on to say that my staff has been waiting to finish the audit since June 2nd of 2022, which has caused additional time and cost to this audit. We would like to finish the audit as soon as possible for Griggs County. Please send the information requested in number 4 above to us by July 13th, 2022. So, that is that. However you guys would like to go forward.
Which years did they re-audit that our old auditor had already done?
18 and 19.
18, 19.
Mm-hmm. And I do have those. And he
Okay.
said, well, do you have those? And I said, yes. And he says, well, for some reason I haven't seen those. I sent them to him in the beginning of the whole process.
I don't remember seeing any discretion between the two.
So we got to this point because the state said that Harold's hadn't turned in his 18 and 19 audits to the state, correct?
There was discrepancies with his previous audits that they were not going to approve any
Yeah.
more audits. And he hadn't filed our 18 and 19 with them at that point.
And then we entered into a contract with them for 18 and 19, or they just said they were going to take over the process?
They just said that they were taking it over.
And then they started billing us for that.
We haven't yet received a bill, but yes.
Okay. So we need to have Jamie research and see what their authority is. Do they have the authority to?
Take over for
Yeah,
account.
and who is doing the audit? Is this a contract auditor for the state, or is it actually state employees?
I think they're state employees,
Okay.
but they can't put the building authority.
Yes, they can. They have a checklist. I told them that too. I said, well, they're not very, is there something that's wrong with the audit? And I said, yes, you have the building authority's debt on there. And they said, well, we have a checklist and it is part of the county.
No, it isn't, but that's.
But still, I want them to tell us what Harold did wrong.
If you would like to know what Harold did wrong, we are going
Absolutely.
to have to contact Dan Cox.
Well, if
And I will give an update
if
on that.
Harold's discrepancies caused them to not allow us to use Harold,
Yeah,
then there has to be discrepancies, because if there's
Yeah.
no discrepancies, then we should have been able to keep using Harold
sure.
and not be subject to the $20,000 or $30,000 a year that it's gonna cost to have the state come in and
Absolutely.
audit us. Yeah. And if there's no discrepancies, it appears like they're trying to invent a discrepancy by using this.
Checklist.
No, well, by not listing the building authority's property onto our balance sheet, basically is what they're saying. So we leased a piece of property,
Yep.
this building,
Yep.
and we don't take ownership of it, meaning the county, until the lease is paid off. At which point it becomes equity to the county. Right now, this is equity that the building authority uses to borrow the money for this building. So if you look at the lease agreement with Griggs County and the building authority owns this building, Griggs County leases it. You look at the trust agreement with the state is a trustee, the building authority owns the building, and the state administers the lease between the two entities. Not to mention that the Wind, Fire and Tornado
Yeah.
Fund, which is another state entity, recognizes that we don't own this building because they won't insure it because it's owned by a private entity. So there's 3 government entities that say that we don't own the building. There's one that says that we do. And the other thing is, we refinanced it, and we did not refinance it, the county, because we couldn't, we didn't have
Yep,
permission,
yep.
we didn't have permission from the citizens. So the building authority, a private entity, refinanced it. We're trying to claim their equity. There's a UC 23 filed. We couldn't do it even if we wanted to. The building authority owns this building until it's paid for. So it's a moot point. If you or I owned the building, we could use it as collateral to borrow against it. That
Sure.
would be the purpose of it. What does a entity like a political entity do with it?
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're arguing about, other than they're trying to back up their claim that Harold did something wrong. I think that's what they're trying to do.
By not putting this building as an asset or a liability on the balance sheet.
Yeah.
It isn't either.
Yeah.
Our liability is the lease payment.
Show me the person, I'll show you the crime. Cart before the horse.
The problem about this is that we have to have the information to them by July 13th, and I received this 20 minutes before your guys' meeting, so obviously didn't get the time to call Dan Cox about what have questions on Mr. Rotunda. So I don't know what to do going forward with this now.
Well, I would say that we, with the permission of the commission, that we send them a letter saying that we need to have our state's attorney review this request and give us guidance as to your request, and we'll get back to you.
And they're waiting for the fair board and something else.
Nope, everybody's got all, well, yeah, they're waiting on that, but they've given all that stuff to them.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, yep, they're just waiting for the response back.
But we really have to have Jamie look at it, so if he's not here,
Mm-hmm.
what information did they want?
They want you guys' remarks on if you, the Griggs County's response on all of their recommendations and their findings.
Right. And we need to have Jamie research what, first of all, what is their authority? What is our liability in that? Are we even the ones responsible for this? We don't know.
They want a response before our next meeting. They want a response before our next meeting. That's not gonna happen.
Yep,
So,
yep.
Being from a household of can kickers, they'll understand the response.
I wasn't ready for the discussion, but he called and I was like, okay, now I guess is the
I mean, we'll
time.
give them the information they need, but we just need to know what our obligations are.
Right.
Not being, there's nothing to hide.
Mhm.
so this is gonna go on Jamie's plate.
At the next meeting, I
Right.
suppose.
Do we need to act on this in any way?
Hmm?
Do we need to act on any of this, or just,
Wait and see what Jamie says, I would say.
Yeah, we haven't had time to put it in front, let him research it.
well,
Again, I'm sure it's not a big deal, I just need to know what.
the auditor just has to understand that the debt for this building can't be assigned to the county.
No, so, I mean, we have the debt for the lease agreement, but we can't assume the equity because
No.
it's a lease.
They'll,
It had to be a
any
lease.
audit I've ever seen with these, there's notes that say this entity is, entered into a lease with
Yep.
da-da-da, and
Yeah, it's a financial liability, it's a
Yeah.
on the liability side of the balance sheet.
then,
It's no different than the road graders.
exactly.
They don't end up as equity on the positive side of the
No.
balance sheet.
No, they're not equity or liability, that's just the only liability is a lease payment, so.
Yeah.
We don't owe the full value of them, just the value of the lease.
Yep. Yep.
Are we on to the big bad budget?
What about this empowerment zone or renaissance zone thing?
Letter.
Oh, that's, down down the chart a little ways there, Mark.
Okay.
Unless you wanna skip ahead to that, I'm sure willing to do so.
And then do budget last?
Okay.
So how many mills are levied in the city for the county?
How many mills are levied? for
Yeah, a
the
piece of city property, how many mills does the county have involved in that?
Well, aren't the mills the same throughout the county?
No, the city, I mean, like, this property that we were looking at the other day, for where the Finley Farmers Elevator, there was 186 mills in that. Cooperstown probably has 300 mills total,
I
because
see.
of the different entities that,
I see. What is the city of Cooperstown?
no, it's everything. So there's county taxes,
Yeah,
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 but then the city has taxes over and
Yep.
above that, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so which one are you asking for? How many mills the city gets?
No,
Total.
the county,
How many mills the county gets?
from a piece of property in the city.
Hmm,
The mill levy breakdown on a piece of property in the city.
mill levy
You know, if you looked at the, if you looked at the tax statement over in the bottom left-hand corner, it'll say school district.
You wanna know the
County.
valuation of the city?
No. If they give a tax exemption, how much does that cost the county? How much money are we giving up? No different than, so there's the different taxing entities.
So how the Renaissance zone works, if I remember right, your improvement had to be more than 30% of the total value of your property. So to say that we're giving it up, it isn't there to begin with, unless they remodel or do something. So I don't. And those blocks, those 24 blocks have to touch at least corner to corner in order to qualify the zone.
She also said, I was gonna let you know that that there is support, that they got the support from the school board, EDC, and the city council for this already. Okay, so is that
Yeah,
on?
I'm fine. I
Is
just
that on
wanted
our
to know
levy
that-
sheet?
So a piece of property in Cooperstown, if you look at the tax statement, it'll show the mills involved in and if you look at that, it breaks it down, just like it did on that last piece of property we looked at for the
You should be able to get
county.
just get the worksheet for the county.
The-
You'll have a breakdown of
The levy sheet?
Yeah,
The levy sheet, okay.
I think that's what John's thinking of.
Okay, so the city of Cooperstown gets, in the city of Cooperstown, they have the park, the school, all that stuff, and then the county and that equals up to 324
That's right. So
mills.
what's the county's portion of that?
The county's portion of that, well, that would be the 76.83, and that's state, county, and then districts.
Yeah. Mhm.
Someone want to make a motion
I'll
in
make a
support?
motion to approve it.
Motion by Scott for the Griggs County Commission to recognize the need for Renaissance Zone in the city of Cooperstown. Is there a second?
Here again, if we read that last paragraph, do we have the authority to grant for an exemption?
We're not doing it, the city is.
We're seeding our, putting our approval in, yeah, we would, I think we would still have the township and the county would still have the right, once it was granted, the same as the city and the school had the right on this one to opt out of it, I think.
And Renaissance zones are, read that century code too, but I don't remember what it said.
Yeah, no, they did away with the state reimbursing them, I know that. But
I'll second.
Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
no.
Scott?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Motion carries. I'll sign this.
Just sign it at the bottom there. Is it you? Oh, it's me. How about that? Well, I don't want it to be my hand. I want it to be you.
We're having a party?
At the last meeting, you guys talked about
Oh.
putting it in the policy manual for retirement parties to approve the $200 for,
To set a policy
Oh.
so that it
in
doesn't
the,
have to come
in
to
the
you guys.
manual. Was there a lot of cake eating on whatever day that was?
Mhm.
Good cake too.
Mhm.
Let's table that for a while.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's move on to the budget. Where were we? Where did we leave off at, Sam?
You guys were in the Schedule C. I did receive the state aid numbers, and I sent those on to you.
So, does the numbers that you sent us from the state, are they reflected in this budget already?
Correct.
And how much of an impact did that have on our budget? Can I see a line item for that?
So it's on the revenue side.
Okay,
So within the general fund, it's on page, page B2. So the estimated for the state aid is 462,275.
What line, Sam? Oh, 462 right here.
Yep, so that's the state aid. Yep.
Okay.
And then I did receive the budget from the library, so that has now been reflected in your budget that you have in front of you.
Did the water board get you a budget?
No. I didn't receive it. Well, I received one, but they weren't requesting any
They
levy.
weren't requesting a levy, but they still have to submit a budget.
Right.
Yeah.
Now that you say that, I'm wondering if I did receive that.
Because they were good. I talked to Tom about that.
I think I did actually. Hold
They
on.
did. They thought since they weren't
Levying any
levying,
money,
they didn't need to submit one.
budget, but now I think I do have that. I'll be right back.
Boy. Allowing something for Leafysburg, I don't know what's gonna happen. Somebody's gonna have to start spraying these roads or townships or counties. I'm starting to see more and more right along as we're mowing these roads.
It's in our pastures, it goes like this, and right now it's like this.
Yeah, yeah.
But the bugs are everywhere.
Are they?
Yeah.
Did they start to show up now?
Yeah. You sit in the ranger and they're jumping on you, you know.
We might have to come your way to collect.
I don't know if they're collectible numbers or not.
Oh,
I just heard on the radio they're doing collections in Stutzman County. So I can always go.
I think
Poach
Monday
bugs
we're
from
gonna
them.
do some here
Yeah.
up at the Butte.
No, I didn't get an updated budget from them.
Okay.
Okay. So where do you wanna start?
Well, if you want to start with the department heads that are here,
Okay. Get us to the right page. And
so if you want to just start from the beginning, we can go to the treasurer's budget. Maddie is here. Oh yeah, Amber's here. Let's go to.
Christian's here pretty soon.
That's right.
Okay. What page is she
What
at?
page, you know?
19?
I thought we did all the budgets. All we had left was the salary.
You did do through the general fund, but now the department heads are here if you wanted to talk to them, but.
But we did, all we had left was the salary, which was gonna cover everybody. Right?
You didn't do the sheriff's, I don't think. Did you?
I don't know.
No,
I don't think we did either.
no.
I think we quit just before we
Yeah.
got there. What page are you on? I'm still going.
B19.
19. Okay. See, emergency.
So we're not talking salary?
Not talking
Oh,
salary.
okay. So then I haven't heard anything on the cops grant. I did check it today and they said I won't hear for 3 to 6 months. So I don't know what to say about that, so Other than that, I put in I upped the fuel by 1,000. And training and equipment by 400. And I thought there was something else.
I think we approved all that, correct?
Did you?
Yeah. I mean, I think we did, I'm quite sure we did all that.
So, I believe you had the second deputy here for 47,000. Isn't that part of the grant? Do we still?
Well, I
budget?
don't know about the grant yet, so it's probably really a moot point right now.
So,
But I won't know about the grant.
do we put the 47 in there? Even if the only way it's gonna happen is if we get a grant?
Well, there's so many unknowns, so how are we going to cover all the variables that's not covered under the grant? The vehicle, everything that the city's gonna have to cover, how is that gonna be done? That has to be somehow incorporated into this budget. Because obviously, whatever the grant isn't gonna cover all the variables for that deputy. So that those have to be covered somewhere, how? They either have to be included in this budget, or there has to be an agreement with the city that they pay all the additional cost.
And I think I remember what we said was to wait and see if we got the grant, which I know doesn't help out in budget time.
Right,
Because
so
it could be
if,
6 months from now.
right, and then so then it's a year after that. Unless, that was my whole point. That's why I asked the city if they'd done their budget. If we get the grant and we just use that towards the deputy, then the city has to cover all the rest of the costs associated with that deputy, the car, the maintenance, the training, all that. Until they put that in place and are able to cover that side of it, there's no use us even looking at it.
Do you have any idea, Andrew, what that cost would be? Or how you would come about? You're gonna have to think of something, at least get us really
A
close.
ballpark.
Yeah. And,
Yes, I can work on that.
and get it to the city so they realize their total number, what it's gonna come to.
No,
Do you know by chance?
it's gotta be a floating number. We can't, the citizens
Yeah.
of Griggs County
Yeah.
can't be responsible for the unknown.
Sure.
They have to set a budget up, and every time this needs money for this deputy or anything involved with the deputy, they write the check.
But they're also not getting the whole entire deputy.
Well, then we get into the discussion on do the citizens of Griggs County need part of another deputy?
Which, the ones I've talked to, yes.
Well,
I mean, how about you guys? How about other opinions? Have you heard yes? The school, yes?
Yep.
I mean, in fact, people in Binford talk to me all the time about getting a deputy.
then there's people that aren't also.
But there's
To try to
plenty
gauge,
that are.
to try to gauge
that
the
need a
public
deputy.
opinion by who you talk to is about impossible. Because we don't
So
talk
then
to
why do you go
everyone.
and say we don't need one if it's impossible? How do you
I
have
have
an
to
opinion?
represent the people that
But you
voted
just
for
said it's
me.
impossible.
And my indication, right or wrong, is that they don't want another deputy.
But didn't you just say it's impossible to do that?
That's correct, it is impossible to do that.
Yeah.
That's why we have 5 of us here. That's why, but for you to say,
But that's
For
strange
you-
to
for
me
you to
because
say
people in
that-
Binford all the time call me all the time, talking, "Where's law enforcement? Can we get more law enforcement? Can we get more law enforcement?" So
I
are you talking to your
understand-
people in Binford?
I understand that. The people that don't want more law enforcement, I'm gonna call you up and say, don't come here.
Oh.
You're trying
You
to
would be
prove a double
surprised. Have you
negative.
worked this job? Do you know that for sure?
Calm down now.
You would be surprised what we're told.
I understand. The process goes that we have to arrive at a consensus on what needs to be done based on what we think the people we represent want.
Right. Everybody,
And-
not
and-
just one opinion. His
I only
opinion,
have one
his
vote. I
opinion,
can't
his
vote for
opinion, her
anybody else.
opinion.
I can't vote for anybody else.
Mhm.
I can only vote for me.
Mhm.
And I
And the
get to,
people you
I
represent.
get to defend my one vote. That's how the process works. And someone telling me that my opinion of the people I represent is wrong doesn't mean anything to me. Because well, that's the way the process works.
Okay.
I'm supposed to represent.
I just find it strange
I'm
because
supposed
so
to
many
represent the
Bedford people
people
come to me.
that voted for me, and if I don't represent them
And I'm
correctly,
just saying, I think
if they
it's
don't
strange
represent me
'cause
correctly,
I hear so
then
many
I get
people
thrown
there.
out. That's how it works. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
That's
just saying,
how it
I
works.
just think it's strange. I mean, you have your opinion, I have mine.
so the point is, if we want another deputy, then you're gonna have to put that on the table, and it's gonna have to get voted on.
That's what I put in the budget.
Okay, and then it comes down to a financial consideration. Do we want to spend more money for another deputy? That's what this whole process is all about.
But do you feel that, well, I can't go by what you feel. Can you get us some hard numbers above what the Cox grant
Yes, I can work on that.
and come up with that? I'm, like I say, what John's saying, I'm only one vote, but my feeling is unless we get the grant, I'm not in favor of another deputy.
Even with all the people that tell you that about law enforcement?
Yeah, the next commissioner will have to make that decision.
So how can people tell you constantly, and you tell me constantly that people tell you, but you still vote against it?
I'm wishing to get the grant.
Okay. Gotcha.
And I think we've got a good chance at it.
Yeah, I hope so.
I do too. I do too.
Since you're on the subject of this, can we bring, I don't know, I suppose we can't bring this up, I suppose. You know, Shane's leaving, you know, for 9 months deployment, you know. You know, and I'm looking at trying to figure, can we discuss that a little bit now or not, guys? You know, Shane's leaving for 9 months, and I'm worried that we'll be short a person then for those 9 months when he's deployed. So we need somebody to try to fill in that gap and do something for, because otherwise we're down to just 2 deputies then.
How does that
You
work?
know, we follow.
I agree.
We
I
don't
agree.
still pay them.
You know,
Right, so,
that's what, that's.
So
So you've got money in the budget, you'll have extra money in the budget if you can find somebody to work part-time, you know, or for 9 months.
I fully agree with that.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that something that's easily done?
Yeah.
You'd never know. I mean, you would like to say no, but there could be someone,
Sure.
you just never know
Sure.
until you put it out there,
Yeah.
you know.
Or one of the other
There's-
or one of the other departments if they have somebody.
Yeah, you just never know.
But my point is, yes, we need somebody, but we get somebody to fill in part-time and all of a sudden it becomes a full-time position and now we have more than what we started with when we're trying to fill a position.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
Yeah.
I see your point. It's just that,
But no, you're right, we
I'm
have to
just-
fill it, we should fill that position in.
You know,
It's
that's-
too bad that we got put in this situation.
because what's gonna happen is, you know, it worries me this, we'll be down to 2 if nobody get in there to replace him this winter, you know, we're gonna be up again, you know.
When does he deploy?
Yeah.
September.
September.
And we have been fortunate enough, Steele County's been coming over and helping us, you know, or vice versa, you know, at least
Yeah,
somewhat.
they've always done
They've always
that.
done that, that helps, but still, you know.
No, it puts a lot of
I think we actually
strain.
end up over there more than they're here.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
A lot more crime over that direction.
No, they just,
Sorry.
they're short too.
Well-
Beckman's helpless.
I don't know how you can use them, but it was a push to us when we accepted the possibility of a game warden here, that they're supposed to be able to.
They are backup, that's correct.
They are
In a lot-
supposed to
that's-
help us.
That's right.
Yep.
He lives in Finland.
That, yeah,
It isn't
and
fair,
we
but
can't
that is true.
bank
that
on
they are
that for
backup.
emergency
That's
calls.
exactly right. do you have anybody, I discussed one time with you, had somebody maybe lined up to help maybe, you thought of, that come true or not? Okay, okay.
So let's
Okay, I'm just sorry, I just took a.
Let's
No,
get
that was
back-
a good-
That's fine.
That was a good question. I mean,
But
that-
just, okay.
that was
let's get back to our
Okay.
numbers here. We'll be.
that was a good question.
How do we deal with the maybe of a grant? It's kind of hard to put that in the budget and then,
I agree with you. I don't know.
It's 125,000, correct? Is that what it is?
For 5 years,
For
for 4 years,
4 years.
correct? I think that's what you showed us last
Yeah.
time.
I mean, our luck, it could be, go right into next, next budget. I don't know, probably get it 6 months from now. Or tomorrow. I don't know.
Well, and then to fill the position.
And I called today too, and they don't tell you anything else.
who's the decider on those?
I called grants.gov and they just told me to wait.
And right now we'll have 4 police cars, correct? 4 tow vehicles. Is the other one ready to go now, the newest one?
Almost.
Almost?
It's about a week out from getting its lights in it and stuff.
Okay. So we'll have 4
It's
then.
here in the garage.
Okay. So we'll have 4 then. Okay. And for Explorer, if we keep it, of course, it's just another, well, we just keep, we just keep running the vehicles anyway, right, guys? Running something at the
So
county
how
shop.
should we do this, John? Should it be Deputy 2 off budget? Can you do that like we've done the vehicle and that sort of thing?
Well, no, I mean, whether it's on in the sheriff's department budget or not, it still is gonna have to be
Levied for.
levied for, so it doesn't make any difference.
There's just a lot of details to work out between the city
Yeah.
to quantify the costs.
I think it's unquantifiable.
Yeah.
And given the time frame we have, trying to do something now that we don't know, might not know for 6 months, and we'll never know what the costs are, because the costs are what they are as they come in.
Yeah.
You hit a deer with the car. Well, that's not in the budget. I mean, there's a zillion of them. I mean, that was why I recommended the city hire their own cop. Then they could have the budget, they could take the cops grant or the money from it, it wouldn't.
I think we had that discussion with the parameters of the grant. The city couldn't qualify for it because they didn't have a,
Existing.
Established law.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Amber. As far as, I think we just move on now, don't we?
What are we gonna do with this one?
I think that's a salary thing.
Well, until you guys are willing to sit down and figure out what we're gonna do in these salaries, we're gonna be sitting here till snow's out.
Because everything else we've kind of
Yeah.
banged through.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys just need to go through you guys haven't done anything of the Schedule C.
You can go to Schedule C and do that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Amber.
Yeah, thanks, Amber.
You know, you get through all the ones that are debatable, and then it's one decision on the salaries, because it affects every one of them.
Yeah.
You know, we're still a long ways, if you look here at this front page.
That levy comparison page.
Yeah, I mean, here's what's making it look halfway decent.
Right,
Because we're
yeah,
not levying
that's what I
anything.
was saying, it's because
So
you
that
guys
is-
haven't levied for the road department,
Right,
the
so you
30.
put in the max levy for the road department, and this thing is $1 million over what it should be.
Did you figure out that 60 or 600,000 from last time we were discussing that went?
Yeah. Well, I
Or, I
mean, we know where it's
I
supposed,
mean, it went,
we know
but-
where it's supposed to go, so it
Okay.
should have went off, when it came off of, well, go ahead, Dale, whatever you do.
Yeah, keep on.
Yeah. Okay, who's next?
If you guys wanna go to that road department, it's, Schedule C, page 7.
7.
Hmm.
Okay. 7B, you mean?
No, Schedule C,
Schedule C, page, yeah. okay.
7. Are you at the road?
County Road and Bridges
Okay,
expenditures,
yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay.
Did you get some new numbers for like highway distribution?
Your state revenue?
Well, it says estimated revenue 385,000.
Yep. So I got those new
Plus
ones.
tax.
Yep, I got those new from and then the prairie dog funds too. I have those. I put those in there too.
Prairie dog is gonna come next year, or?
Paul sent out an email today that said that they were on track, and then this memo that I got from the Association of Counties says that Griggs County should receive $927,129 next year.
Yeah, so I got the one from Paul also.
Yep.
It's a ways to go to fill them up, but I know they're filling fast.
So you didn't take the $255,000 out of there for the road and bridge fund? 7B.
7B, where are you at?
7B.
No. Okay. That's where we are.
You got an extra pen, Dale?
I took it off mine.
Was there any other changes that I've forgotten to make from last time?
Yeah, go to Schedule C, page 7.
Okay, there. On the expense or the revenues?
This one.
Okay, the
On these transfers,
Okay.
that's what's got us all screwed up here.
Yep. Okay.
Which one you on, John? 7 or A? Or you on 7?
Just 7, right
Okay.
here, this right here.
Yep.
So Sam, under actual expenditures, 2021, and we showed transfer out of 641,154.
Yep.
Where did, that went over to the road and bridge fund, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, that reduced the balance to $695,750.
Mm-hmm.
January 1st. And that's gonna leave an estimated $663,476.73 at the end of 2022,
Correct.
correct?
Yep.
And then we took that forward to offset the 15162,521, which is now what, 125 something? 1,200,000. When you took the $255,000 off of,
1,261,521.
okay, so then what does it leave then for a requested balance at the end of December 31st?
If I take out, if I don't have that transfer.
Yeah, we're gonna reach, no, not the transfer.
So I wanted but you want me to take,
When you remove this
yep,
from 23,
yep,
it should have reduced this amount by
it
$255,000.
reduced this one, yep.
Well, no, requested.
Well, that doesn't really do anything with these, it's the final that does stuff with this, so yeah, I got it down to the
Well, I mean,
261.
okay. I mean, this is a requested budget here.
Yep, so I took it from this one.
Okay.
Yep. So I got the 1,261,521
And see, but it shows transferring in this.
transfer out.
No, this came out of 2022.
Yep.
This 663, that's what's causing the problems.
Okay, but then I'm taking that out. So then it would become 0.
Yeah, but you can't transfer it out of a budget that isn't in place yet. We can't transfer out of 2023.
Yeah, that I have it highlighted yellow so that I remember to tell you guys to please transfer that out.
No, we have to, yeah, okay. So
Yep.
what we should have done is when we transferred this out,
Mm-hmm.
that 641, 154.50 in 2021,
Mm-hmm.
should have went to the treasury. And it shouldn't have ended up anywhere else. Then this going forward would have been a little bit of a negative number. This would have been a little bit of a negative number, but we would have been able to.
So you did not want to start out.
So right here in this try taking this number. Okay, this number went out, that's fine.
Yep.
We should have transferred out all this out. We should have transferred out this 695 also, but we can't now.
Okay, but if I was thinking that too, but if I put that 695,750, it gives me, a negative number. So then that's how I came up with that 663. Because if I do that 663 and I take out all of this, oops, hold on one second. We'll delete all of that. We'll go into the expenses and delete.
Well,
And
there's an
delete.
easier way to do it.
But then if I do that, now I'm at 0 with that transfer out. That makes that bottom number be a 0 levy before we start the
We'll
budgeting.
fix it. Put that, we don't know what the levy amount is gonna be.
Mhm.
Put that 663, put this number, or subtract 84,000 from 663.
Or add it or minus it?
Minus it,
Minus it.
84,000 from the 663.
Okay.
Add that amount to this reserve here, and then run the numbers, and it'll balance out.
So you want me to add all of these numbers back in? Is that correct?
What's that?
All the revenue back in, like I had it?
Yeah, all we're doing is we're increasing the budget here.
But do you want all these numbers back in?
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Just increase that reserve by 579,000.
Okay. Seven, 9, 257.24. Okay.
Now what do you give us for a number? What are we levying on the bottom now?
410,976.73.
What did we levy last year?
Last year we levied. Oh, I have it here.
My Kelly's got me all excited. She said she's gonna go up there.
Revenue, we levied 663,476.73.
Okay, subtract that, what we're gonna levy right now.
She doesn't go anywhere.
That's what was it?
She was ahead of me.
410.
Subtract that from that, what we levied last year.
976.73 minus.
Hmm?
She doing okay?
No. She needs the hip replacement bad.
476.73 equals, okay, 252,500.
Add that to that reserve.
Add that again to the reserve.
Yeah.
Okay. 252,500. Okay, 779, 257.24 plus 500 equals, okay,
Water. I think the fish are gonna start biting.
0, 3, 1, 7, 5, 7.24.
Brandon's working on it.
Okay,
Okay, now what's your bottom, what does it say you have to levy now?
663,476.
That's what we levied last year?
He probably tells her what this.
The gas or something. Something
Yes.
something.
Yeah.
And then there was some.
That's it. So now there's a big reserve in there, Wayne, and next year we'll transfer, at the end of the year, we'll see what's left, we'll transfer it back over to the road and bridge fund. But so now your budget's set up so that you're going to maximize the mills, the 30 mills. Everything else stays in place. There'll be a reserve there that's just gonna carry there for 1 year and it's part of the road and bridge fund. So you guys now gotta scrutinize and see whether or not you wanna allow all the expenses in
In the road department.
yeah.
But
So
what's the end number at then?
the end number is exactly what they levied last year,
Six-
is the way we have it now.
So a levy of $663,476.73.
Run that one more time.
663,476.73.
What's our estimated levy amount? Or value of mill, I mean.
I actually, okay, so I have a value.
It's like 20,900, wasn't it?
Yep, so it was gonna be 22,942, but that does not have the correct utilities in there. And I seen from last year's to this year's, for some reason, my one utility went up by like $1 million. So it's not that. So it's about 21, I think I came up with 21,100 and something. I can't remember. But it's not gonna be the 22,942, but I won't know that until I get my utilities in there, so.
The Central says they haven't got you that number yet.
No.
But
Those will usually come about this month. sometime, but no, I don't have those yet.
So that's gonna put your total expenditure quite high, I mean, if most of it's at least for, which is,
But you took out that 200,000, right? 200,000 and 255.
no, the 255 came out, that 200,000 now became what?
It says reserve here.
Right, so the reserve that was at 200,000 now became, how many, what is it? 600?
663,476.73.
Yeah, the reserve.
Oh, the reserve. You want the reserve number?
Yeah.
Okay. The reserve got to be 1,031,757.24.
We're still dealing with that Senate and House bill money that got added in there so many times that it inflated that, but we'll fix it at the end of this year. We'll send it back to the Treasury, the balance there, then, because right now the Treasury doesn't balance with these budgets. There's more money in these budgets than there is in the Treasury. But no, the 255 is out of there, Wayne. But if you go over to the special road and bridge fund, there's 1,491,000 in there, and that covers any of those projects. So now all will happen when they decide on the salaries, the levy will be reduced by a little bit, or maybe it'll stay the same. So then C8 is the road special project, that's just a fund that we, with chip seals and that kind of thing, should be fine.
It doesn't look like you change your expenses much, Wayne, huh?
Just the salaries.
Fuel up a little bit. Supplies down.
Went up on fuel, I think.
Contractor went up a
Gravel.
little bit.
Went up on gravel from last year.
Sure.
Cost has increased in that.
I asked you this
Where
before.
did that put us on the total levy then for this year, after we did that?
The levy comparison?
What do they
Yeah.
charge us a yard to put up the gravel?
162,328.
Oh, they do it by the
48
ton.
over.
Over.
So then it gets to be like
Over the-
$7 a ton. I think.
That's 162,328
Ton in
more
yard.
than what you
The
levied
yard-
last year.
The yard is like 2,800 pounds.
Okay.
They charge by the yard, it's probably $5 and something.
Did you put the
Sure.
reserve back in the general fund?
I haven't asked him this year yet.
And that's just for screeding and piling, crushing,
Yep.
whatever, and then you buy the
Yes,
Wow.
pile and.
of 250,000.
I don't have anything on this.
Have you ever figured out what it costs us to put gravel on the roads?
Oh, I have, but
This also has that estimated
Tell me right off the
taxable
top of my
value
head.
of the 22,942 in the back, so then that's
If
carrying
you wanna
those
take in
like the library, or
Wages
the
and
Yeah,
seniors
yeah.
and the,
cost of the truck and the
Oh.
gravel.
Yep,
to the highest that they can go.
I think it's pretty cheap.
So if I take that
It's a lot
down,
cheaper
that would then
than
decrease that number as well.
225.
Use the dollar
Try to
value
get
of
some.
last year.
The taxable
You guys
value.
put any gravel on?
No, the-
Cause in that back
They're-
thing
they're
that
going to.
Ron had done is a constant,
Well,
and so
when
then
you
when
do
I
that-
put in the constant, that taxable value, then it does its thing for me or
Put it
whatever,
on
and gets those
October, just
levies
we'll throw it in the
for
ditch, be
me.
done with it.
And so if I
This
put in, do you want me to
disaster
put
stuff,
in
they
the
set a
taxable value of last
price of
year?
Right, no,
$28 a yard.
not the taxable value. The,
Wow.
the amount of a mill, same thing,
Right,
yeah.
yep, and I think his does it that way or whatever.
Okay, you can, yeah,
converts
so,
it back.
and then it'll lower that,
Those ones.
because I
just
can't,
to-
I can't see by what we did, by lowering the residential, lowering the agricultural and raising the commercial, the taxable value has got to be less this year than it was last year, it's gotta be. So the value of the mill is gonna be worth less.
And that's with with those ones, it did go down, but then with the utilities, I have to get those ones. And like I said, it was that one utility got inflated somewhere within the year. So then that's when my taxable value went up. But
Right.
I don't have those numbers
But
right
the
now.
state still hasn't give us the agricultural value yet. We were using last year's, is what Connie was using there. So the state's gonna come with a increase in the agricultural value.
I thought it was 5%.
No, so what Connie gave us this last meeting
Oh.
was based on last year. So we decreased, it ended up, the taxable value was 5% over, and we took it down 5% to 90%. But the state still hasn't implemented their increase yet.
Yeah.
We got ahead of ourselves. So I think if we use pretty close to the same value of a mill, that would probably be pretty close. It all depends on what they do with that agricultural land.
Yeah, I think they're gonna raise it, I thought they said, so.
So you want me to put it back at that, the 22,115,
What did you have it at, 20?
22,941.
Yeah, put it 22,115 for sure.
22,115.
And that, other than the road department, doesn't matter to us, because we budget dollars and not mills.
That's right.
But with the,
It does.
Road and.
No, with the
with the seniors and
Yes,
stuff,
yeah.
they get a fixed,
Library.
not the library is different, but with the, the seniors, the fair, all those,
Museum.
yep, those get the set mill, and so within the system, it will automatically go to that highest one when I put in the taxable value. So when you see the comparison page, it looks like we're levying higher than probably what we are, because I have a taxable value higher. So then it's wanting that higher one. So by decreasing it just a little bit is.
Basically, in all these budgets, the only thing that looks like it's changing much was gonna be the
Salaries.
proposed salaries, so that's the elephant in the room we need to deal with to move forward.
What number did you put in here, Sam? What percent?
Well,
Did-
on mine, I put in the 5.9 for cost of living increase.
They're all over the board.
Some of them requested different, but
I put 5.9.
it wasn't a set thing throughout the whole budget, but it was whatever.
What did they give us for other number? We must have had some additional income here somewhere, Sam, because we certainly are spending more money.
I fixed a levy mistake.
Hmm?
I fixed a levy mistake.
Yeah, no.
So right
Oh, yeah,
now,
that's right.
131,024.
Last year in dollars, countywide, we levied what?
Last year in dollars, we levied 1,000,000,
124,000.
1,562,440. Yep.
And now you wanna levy 1,000,007 something.
1,693.
For next meeting, can you give me a breakdown of what 1% on salaries costs? So that would be easy enough to figure, so that for every 1%, we know it's X amount of dollars.
Okay.
I mean, you can look at the total salary, what's total salary
Yeah.
for the year, $1 million gross, I think.
I don't know that because there's a lot of like, the DES, the, weed, the this and that and whatever's.
Yeah, okay.
So I'd have to look at that. I think there was a page in the back that showed salaries, but I think that was just for the general fund. Yeah, general fund salaries.
I'm not sure.
Well, do you want the actuals?
No, with benefits and everything. We don't have that, I suppose.
Well, if you go to page M2, that in the way back, he's got some information there.
Does it get the total it to?
Just that one general fund total is all it is, but then not with the health insurance or anything.
Right, and then the benefits are another half of that, so 700,000. So 1% across the board would be about $7,500, correct?
I'm not sure.
Total salaries in the general fund for 584,000.
On what page are you saying that?
M2.
M2,
In the way back, it's
yep, what line? I think I'm looking here at it, but I don't see anything.
Oh, there it is. Okay, got it.
yep. So general funds from
This number here,
Yep,
okay?
that's your circular.
Okay.
And then you can take on the 50% of that to cover the benefits.
Yeah, yeah. So 1% wouldn't that be
10,000.
$5,840?
Yeah, on the 75,000, it'd be $7,500. On the 750,000,
Includes
it'd be
benefits.
$7,500.
You're adding in for benefits.
Yeah, I mean, if you
Yeah,
raise
yeah,
salary,
yes,
you have to,
yes.
yeah, but that's just for the general fund, that isn't all salaries.
The road department isn't in there.
Separate.
The BSO isn't in there.
The total salaries are about $980,000, and then you add in 50%, it's about $1.5 million. So 1%'s gonna give you $15,000 increase.
How much?
15,000 approximately. I mean, that's just
Sure.
Ballparking it.
And conversely, a 1% decrease would give you the 15,000. So we're off by $160,000. $167,000 on the mill.
Oops. 131.
131, okay.
We're 131 over last year's levy amount.
Right.
That's with the proposed salary increases in place.
And then, I mean, there's 56,000 additional salary in the sheriff's department for another deputy. I mean, there's,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Then you're at 80, and then
We're getting closer.
On your revenue side, Dwayne, are you gonna increase your blading cost to the townships?
If that's what you guys want. Well, I've asked before and then it was kinda turned down, but
We're at per hour now. What am I?
$75 for blading.
Didn't somebody say about 15, 20 bucks higher, somebody said?
I suppose for the fuel, right? What do they burn an hour for fuel?
Yeah.
9, 10 gallons?
Not that much, about 6, I think, or so.
6 gallons, 6. Okay, so at 7, and fuel has gone up, what, $2.50? $3?
It's close to $4, I think.
Yeah. So they're at 3. That'd be an hour. Additional.
$21 more. But we're still fairly reasonable compared to the rest of the contractors, you know what I'm saying? Even if we go up, we're still go up 20.
I
Yeah.
agree.
So,
Yeah, when was the last time there was an increase?
Increase.
Yeah.
I think it's been
2003
$75.
2013, I think, was the last
Wow.
time. And I did a little
And
work
this went
up
from
here.
70 to 75.
Yeah. Right.
Cause it's been 70 and 75 for,
Years.
my gosh, I was on the township for 20 years, and that, as far as I know, it was 70 or 75.
Somewhere I did it. If you went up to $95, then it was like 22,000 something, I think. Increase, that was just using the estimate of 2021's revenue from townships.
And the argument was always that, well, they'll just blade less, townships. Well, how much less can they blade?
Can't be much less.
Yeah, you can't get much less.
Well, the townships have already set their budgets.
Yeah.
So,
March we did, yeah.
so if you increase the blading amount, it's kinda,
Yeah, in March we did. But there's, we have, like our township, we have some reserve built in there, you know, to cover that.
You know. And if they get their prairie dog funding too,
Yeah.
then they'll get some more money.
Well, we still need to talk about salary, what's our intention?
Well, I think when
That is basically what's gonna make the budget go up or down
Yep, it's gonna move it.
from what it was last year. Cause everybody else kinda looks like they kept their
falls right
expense,
in pretty close.
you know, kept things pretty close. The 2021 COLA came in at 5.8.
5.9.
5.9. So each 1% increase in salary was $15,000, and that
Counting
includes.
the salary, that count, I mean, that's a real rough estimate.
Yeah,
Because would be the benefits and,
yeah,
10,000 of which is, if you go across the board on salaries.
yeah.
But, yeah, pretty close.
So it's $88,000, 88.5. The additional 4 mills.
Well, no, but it's already in there.
Oh, it's,
The increases are in there, but they're all over the board.
oh,
So you have to start from what they were last year and go and whether decide if you're gonna leave them there or increase it, and
Yeah.
then figure it that way. 'Cause you can't back it up because they're not universal. There were some requests up over 15% increase in salary.
I'll have to look at these individually.
No, the way to do is to just determine if there's gonna be an increase and how much increase and apply it to what the base salary was from last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I do it across the board like I've done in the
Mhm.
past.
Yeah.
I would like to see what a 5% would look like across the board. Just to see what it would look like.
It looked pretty devastating, though, all the people that are paying taxes that are on a fixed income and have to, aren't getting an increase. And I know what it would look like to a lot of them.
Kind of depends on where you look for what they're forecasting, like Social Security increases for 2023.
Yeah.
They look like they're gonna boost them 8%.
Don't we go
Well,
by?
here, I mean,
We do go by the Social Security cost of living increase.
We go by the prior year's goal.
Yeah.
So
What you have in the past, until last year.
Well, we've been using the estimated, so then it wasn't the final. So then when the final
Oh.
came out and it was higher, we didn't go back. And so then that's when we used last year to kind of make up for those other years. is kind of what I thought
Was it like 1.5 last year?
1.3.
Point something.
it was a 2.3,
Yeah, total, yeah.
but it was a
Yeah.
1.5 over the cost of living,
Yeah, the COLA was like 1.5, right?
1.3.
0.3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And we went up how much last year?
So the percentage that we went up last year was 2.8.
But it was how much over the COLA?
1.5.
All right, so that logic would say that you'd go to get that 1.5 back, of course.
And we had put a chart together of each of the years that we were missing. We did, like she was saying, that we didn't get the complete COLA, so that's what we based that off of. We were trying to make up for the previous years when it was missed.
So what was the COLA this year?
5.9.
5.9. So what would 4.4 look like?
I think we need to know how much, like I said, each percentage, how much it's gonna cost us more. And I think we were talking that $7,500 would be
No, it's,
for each 1%.
no, because that was just a general fund budget. So if you look
Okay.
at all the salaries and
Yep.
benefits, it's about $1.5 million. So
Okay.
each percent is gonna cost you. But you see, until you work off of what the salary was last year, it's not.
Yeah, yep,
If you wanted to apply a 4.4% increase to last year's salaries, then you would get then it would equalize everything right there, and then you could work from there.
okay.
Then everything would be apples and oranges. Why? I mean, that'd be a good starting point.
Sure.
So I have a different question. It might solve a little bit of this problem. Maybe. There. Why did the county agents go up $22,000?
What page?
C-25. I mean, I see why there's.
I don't have any revenue in there for them.
Hmm?
I don't have the revenue in there for them.
That's right.
Mhm.
But I mean, that's reflective on the total, that's reflective in the total budget.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But like I only received the expense side of it. I can get those numbers from him too.
So it looks like his expenditures were up by $8,000. That's.
That's that health insurance. I had forgotten I took down the general fund from the.
You didn't take it over this one, yeah?
Nope.
Then,
And I think that's the same for the road department too and VSOs. or not VSOs, but the road department too.
So where's the weed board budget? Because is mileage of $4,400, it comes out of the weed.
I think a portion of it came out of the weed last year. Let me go grab that for you.
I think he was supposed to use his own.
He was supposed to use his own, and then if he went over that, then he could dip into the weed, and I can't.
I think he started doing it the other direction.
I can't remember.
I mean, we're not gonna solve the budget problems there, but.
I don't have it on here, so I'd have to go back and. But I remember you guys doing that. I can't remember though.
Yeah, that's right, you did, you took some out of
We
the
put,
weed and the other one, and you,
we budgeted money in
Yeah.
the weed for him, but I don't have it on
I think he
here
was
or.
allowed to use the gas, his gas money,
yeah,
out of the
something
both
like
of
that.
them.
He was, I mean, I still don't understand why we went outside his budget and did that, but
Yeah.
we gave him an extra salary because he had a piece of paper saying he got more schooling too, which was ridiculous. What's the NDSU expense in the county agent budget? I don't understand that one.
That's the.
Reimbursement?
Yeah. Cause he's not a, county employee, he's an NDSU employee, so we just pay NDSU.
But
That's what I thought. So why do we increase that?
Obviously, he got a raise,
Oh, but I mean, NDSU decides his salary.
right?
Why?
And then aren't we responsible for a percentage of him?
We don't even, no, I mean, it looks like we just raised it. It looks like we've been raising it, whatever the percentage.
No, I don't do that one.
Hmm. So does NDSU give us send us a bill on what the budget, and that's what this number is here?
I think so.
Oh.
He's not here, he's at Fair Week, so he,
Yeah, exactly.
he said that he would be here at the next meeting to discuss his budget with you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, are we as far as we're gonna go, or?
Until we plug some numbers in with our,
What number
Salary.
did you want to put in for the salaries
let's try
across the board?
the 4.4 to get us place to start.
So we want a 4.4.
And then we can adjust up and down from there and see what the total numbers come out like.
Okay.
At least you should be able to have a number that it totally affects. That
So
by the
once-
time you
once
get
I-
the road and all that in there.
Once I do the salaries, it then calculates out to the benefits and all the way through.
Okay.
Yep.
And it'll do it across all budgets.
Yep. Well, I have to manually do all
Yeah.
of the salaries, but yep, then it
Then we'll
manually.
have
Yep.
something to kind of look at, because now we're just kind of sitting here looking at paper going, dum de dum.
Yep, yep, absolutely.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Just wait.
Oh, I don't know if I'm ready yet.
Old courthouse, new courthouse?
Oh, sorry. Last one.
Nothing? Future business.
So I have the party policy.
Yeah, we're gonna kick that one down. We don't have to deal with that.
Yep, no, absolutely.
Let's not even put it on next. Do it till when we're done with the budget.
Okay, okay. And then you guys will talk about, I'll have Jamie look into or contact the Finley Farmers Elevator for the tax exemption, and I'll have him look into the 2018-2019 audit, and then you
Yeah.
guys will talk about those at the next meeting.
And then, you gotta make some sense out of this regional corrections budget.
Regional corrections.
I mean, we keep ending up with negative balances all the way through from 2021. That can't, where's that money?
That's that one that we don't have any control over. It's with the prisoners, and it's,
Oh, I know, but we're obviously making the payments. So we spent $7,200 in 2021 over and above the budget. Well, that actually came out of the treasury. I mean, the money got spent, and we're expected to spend 17,000 more over that for 2022. Does
that come out of general reserve?
No, it's never been covered here.
Oh,
See, so remember, a budget is just the ability to spend money. That money gets spent out of the treasury, and if we don't obey the budget, this check still gets written.
yeah.
And that's why you can never make the daily cash balance. If you take that and then subtract all the money that's floating to be spent in this budget, there's more money in this budget and obligations than this cash balance. If you took this budget and spent every last dime of it, it would overdraw the treasury. And that can't be. But we've never had anybody that has taken the steps in order to do this daily cash balance correct. That should be reflective here. There should be a line on here that says outstanding budget expense.
Sure.
And I've talked till blue in the face about it, but maybe that'll change now.
New treasurer. New spreadsheet. We have future business done. Do we have a second on the motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Barring none, proceed to vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned at 5:20. Next meeting, is Thursday, July 21st.
You got it.